Hey, this is John with the House of Randomness. Today we are going to look at some historical figures who, believe it or not, are still alive. In September, it seemed like the end of an era when Queen Elizabeth II passed away at the age of 96 after a 70-year reign of England. Today we will look at some of the historical figures who were born near the time of Queen Elizabeth and are still with us. I will be doing this list in alphabetical order. This is not a countdown. Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin is 92, born on January 20th, 1930. Aldrin is the last living member of the Apollo 11 mission and the second human to walk on the moon following Neil Armstrong. The moon landing was one of 3 spacewalks Aldrin made, the first being part of the Gemini 12 mission in 1966 and as part of the lunar module Eagle. He was also instrumental in the creation of the Mars Cycler, also known as the Aldrin Cycler. He remained with NASA until 1971 and wrote his autobiography in 1973. President Nixon awarded him the Medal of Freedom.
As a result of what you've done, the world's never been closer together before. And we just thank you for that.
Since retiring from the space program, he has made numerous appearances promoting the space program and has appeared on television series like The Simpsons, Punky Brewster, and even Sesame Street.
And I've been to the moon. What do you think about that? Would you like to go there?
Yes.
Yeah. How would you get there?
2010, he was a contestant on Dancing with the Stars. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was born on October 1st, 1924. He just turned 98. He was the 39th President of the United States from 1977 until 1981. He moved up the ranks in Georgia politics, eventually becoming governor of Georgia in 1971. Despite being a relative unknown outside of his home state, he won the 1976 Democratic nomination and eventually defeated incumbent President Gerald Ford during a time that the country was still recovering from the Vietnam War and Watergate.
The people of the United States, there is evident a serious and purposeful rekindling of confidence.
His tenure of president did have setbacks, including the 1979 energy crisis, the Iranian hostage crisis, the Summer Olympic boycott of 1980, and the Mariel boat lift. Carter lost his 1980 re-election bid to Ronald Reagan. His reputation has improved during his retirement thanks to his work with the Carter Center and Habitat for Humanity. In 2002, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. Carter is the oldest living and longest-lived president in U.S. history.
To work together for peace. We can make these changes, and we must. Thank you.
Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan is 96 and was born on March 6, 1926. Greenspan was the chairman of the Federal Reserve from 1987 until 2006. His tenure is the second longest in history, and he served under 4 presidents. Since the 1950s, he had served as a corporate director for many companies, and in 1968 was an advisor to then presidential candidate Richard Nixon during the election. In 1974, President Ford appointed him as chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. In 1987, President Reagan nominated him as chairman of the Federal Reserve.
Experienced a broad increase in inflation. In fact, by some important measures of price trends, inflation actually slowed a bit last year.
He retired from Washington in 2006. However, Greenspan continues to work today as a private advisor and economic consultant. Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger is 99 and was born on May 27, 1923. He was National Security Advisor and Secretary of State under Presidents Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. He is also the last living member of the Nixon administration.
We will strive not just for a pragmatic solution to this or that difficulty, but to recognize that America has never been true to itself unless it meant something beyond itself.
Kissinger was instrumental in the negotiations which resulted in the end of the Vietnam War in 1973 and subsequently was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts. During the Halloween massacre, Kissinger was removed as National Security Advisor but remained as Secretary of State until 1977. While Kissinger is considered one of the most influential people in foreign policy, advising almost every president after leaving the cabinet, he is also considered one of the most controversial. In fact, human rights groups and journalists alike have accused him of being a war criminal, due to questionable decisions while he was in power. Despite this, many people still consider him as an icon on foreign policy, and he has written over a dozen books on the subject.
There will always be
that stresses intentions. But the question is there a direction towards which we can cooperate?
Imelda Marcos. Imelda Marcos is 93 and was born on July 2, 1929. She was the First Lady of the Philippines from 1965 until 1986 and is the mother of the current president, Bongbong Marcos, who took power in June 2022. President Ferdinand Marcos's rule was controversial, mainly for the couple's lavish lifestyle and wealth, the means of which is still seeing court cases today.
Extravagance and not, but at the same time, as First Lady, I have to practically flaunt love and beauty.
In 1975, while still First Lady, she became governor of Metro Manila. The Marcoses were deposed in 1986 and went into exile in Hawaii. After Ferdinand's death in 1989, Imelda returned to the Philippines to face tax fraud and corruption charges, but instead returned to politics. Despite 2 unsuccessful runs for president, she was elected to the Philippine House of Representatives in 1995 and returned in 2010 until she retired in 2019. In 2018, she was convicted of corruption charges, but the case is still pending appeal.
I said, well, now it's my best defense. Because when the world went to my closet, to Imelda's closet, they did not find skeletons. They find beautiful shoes.
Sandra Day OConnor. Sandra Day OConnor is 92, born on March 26, 1930. O'Connor was the first woman appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court. She was nominated by President Reagan in 1981 and became the first nominee to have 99 votes in the Senate. She was also the first Supreme Court justice to have her confirmation hearing televised.
But choose a healthy God.
While mostly siding with conservative justices on the court, she became more of a swing vote later in her career. She was considered a deciding vote in the Bush versus Gore case, which ended ballot recounts in Florida and declared that George W. Bush had won the election. O'Connor remained on the court for 25 years and stepped down in 2006 once her successor, Samuel Alito, was confirmed. She continued to preside in lower courts as a fill-in judge and taught law classes in Arizona and at William & Mary. She officially retired from public life in 2018. She is the oldest living former justice and is the last living justice from the Burger Court.
When I served on the court, it was interesting to me to follow the consequences of a particularly difficult decision.
Isabel Peron. Isabel Peron is 91, born on February 4, 1931. She was president of Argentina from 1974 to 1976 and is the first woman in history to have the title as president. She was vice president in 1973 under her husband Juan Perón. Yes, the same Juan Perón who was once married to Eva Perón, aka Evita. Isabelita succeeded him as president after his death on July 1, 1974.
El excelentísimo señor presidente de la nación, teniente general Juan Perón, consciente.
Her tenure, however, inherited many problems, including inflation, labor unrest, and political violence. She was officially overthrown by the military on March 24, 1976, and was placed under house arrest. In 1981, she was convicted of corruption and was exiled to Spain, however was pardoned 2 years later. In 2007, she was accused of human rights violations and the disappearance of political opponents during her presidency. However, Spain refused to extradite her, and in 2017, all charges against Perón were dismissed. Today, Isabelita is a Spanish citizen living a quiet life, although she did make a brief return to Argentina in the 1980s.
Reclamo la solidaridad de los argentinos y ruego a Dios su alta protección.
Pope Benedict XVI. Pope Benedict XVI is 95 and was born Joseph Ratzinger on April 16, 1927. He was pope from 2005 until his resignation in 2013. He was ordered a priest in 1951 and became a cardinal in 1977. He is the last living member of both 1978 papal conclaves, which elected both John Paul I and John Paul II. In 2005, following the death of John Paul II, he was selected as the 265th pope.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, dopo il grande Papa Giovanni Paolo II,
at age 78, he was the oldest man to be certified pope since Pope Clement XII in 1730, and became only the 6th pope of German origin and the first in almost 1,000 years. In 2013, he officially resigned as pope, citing health concerns and the physical requirements of pope were becoming too much for his advanced age. He became the first pope in more than 500 years to resign. Pope Francis was named his successor 1 month later. Benedict retains the title of Pope Emeritus and has made a few public appearances since his retirement. He is the oldest man ever to hold the position of Pope.
Dei omnipotentis, Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, descendat super vos et maneat semper.
Rachel Robinson. Rachel Robinson is 100 and was born on July 19, 1922. Born Rachel Isom, she is the widow of legendary Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson, the man who broke the color barrier, becoming the first black Major League Baseball player. Often called the First Lady of Baseball, Rachel is a feminist, civil rights activist, as well as a retired professor and registered nurse.
You can't stand still for that stuff. I mean, so you knew that you had to become more active, and it made you more sensitive to the plight of others.
Since Jackie Robinson's death in 1972, she has founded the Jackie Robinson Foundation, providing minority students, many of which are the first in their families to attend college, with scholarships and mentorship opportunities. She continues her work today and continues to push Major League Baseball to hire more people of color in management and executive positions. 6 days after her 100th birthday, on July 25, 2022, the Jackie Robinson Museum officially opened in New York.
But the fact that we haven't been able to identify and attract African Americans is a problem, I believe, and it's not just in baseball, it's in the professions.
Lowell Weiker. Lowell Weiker is 91 and was born on May 16, 1931. Lowell has served in both chambers of Congress representing Connecticut and in 1991 was elected their governor. He was first elected as a Republican to the House of Representatives in 1969 and 2 years later was elected senator. He is the last living member of the Senate Watergate Committee, which is what he's most known for, and was the first Senate Republican to call for Nixon's resignation.
I wish he would have faith in the good nature of the American people, that we are not a vindictive people. We don't believe in getting someone. Regardless of what some of the screwballs in his administration wanted to do, that does not represent the American people.
He remained in the Senate until 1989, losing re-election to Democrat Joe Lieberman. In 1991, Weiker switched his affiliation to Independent and was elected governor of Connecticut. He retired in 1995 but remained active in politics until 2006 and is currently on the board of directors for CompuWare.
And maybe to an excess, people question everything now. Everything becomes this gate and that gate. And of course, none of them really relate in the same way in terms of seriousness.
Thanks for tuning in to this video. Please leave a like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. And if you really want to, there's also a Patreon page as well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.